Okay. Good afternoon for you. An extra, one less hour in the morning. You're on daylight savings time now, right? Correct? This is called daylight savings time. They didn't change the clock here. They didn't change the clock here. But anyway, yesterday we saw a sugya that afia, if you go ahead and bake, and if you go ahead and set it, you go ahead and you braid it, and you go ahead and you bake it. We said that you chayiv on each and every one specifically. Chayiv on each and every one specifically. We saw that from the Mishnah. We were going through sources for how do you know the shirayim. And the Shirayim, there's an issue of Shirayim on the Chum. It's not just on the Kmitza beforehand, there's Shirayim afterwards. And we concluded yesterday with a Gemara B'Shachar I saw. We had a limud Leisayafa, Leisayasa, Leisafa. We want to make it into a klal prat, but they were far from each other. We said Adarabba, it's a prat klal, so it includes everything. So why didn't we B'Shachar I saw for the Nasi? We had a pasuk B'Shachar I saw. We by the Nasi again. We brought in the Vayikra and Sav Indian. We were Medama the shechting in the north. Maybe it's only by what by the carbon of a Nasi. So we said V'Shachar I say no. What do you need it for? That we're going to pick it up right over here. What you need V'Shachar I say for? And the line before it gets wide on Nun Heyamid base. Elatana Oisle Kakasha Leivachi Kamar. Ayin El Shezet Tayin Safin. The Nasi's carbon needs tzafin. Ve'ein acha tayin tzafin, but no other carbon will need tzafin. No other carbon chatas will need tzafin. Because Rachmanu Isai, because it says v'shachar Isai, right? It should shecht it in the north. V'hashta the nafik leimi v'shachar sachatais. Now that you have a limud from v'shachar sachatais, and that makes it extraneous the limud from the Nasi. But then, therefore, Oisai lemutei mai. Why does Oisai come to go ahead and be mamayit? Lamutei nachshain, v'shachad oif v'pesach, simin. Oisai b'tzafin, ve'ein sir nachshain b'tzafin. This seir of the Nasi is b'tzafin, but the seir of nachshain is not b'tzafin. It's a very nice Rabbeinu Gershon, guys, very short line. Look what he says. He says, af agav, to have a seir Nasi, kavasei. Guys, Nachshain was a Nasi. So even though Nachshain was a Nasi, and it was a Nasi, and it's like the Chatas of a Nasi, you might think it needs north like the Nasi. Again, the Parsha of Shachar Esoi is speaking where the Nasi does an Aveira. What's the Chiddush? That he brings a male goat rather than a kispa or a seira, whether a female sheep or a female goat. That's the Chiddush of the Nasi. Again, that's in Vayikra Dalet. Good? Now, he's being a Seir, he's a Nasi. Nachshain's being a Seir, he's a Nasi. So what would you think? That just like the Nasi needs north, so too Nachshain needs north. So therefore it says V'shachat Oisai. V'salkadait chamin and hoil this Rabbi le'inyan smicha. Since we're included in smicha, that Nachshain's carbon, we had to be slamich on it. And therefore what? He's just similar to the Chatas of a Nasi, and this Rabbi Namili and Safin. I would say that Nachshain needs the Tzafin, Kamash Malon, that the Shachad Oisoi, Dafka, the Shchita of the Nasi is in the north, and not the Shchita of Nachshain. So that's what we're using it for. I always find it interesting. We're using it for something that happened already. Might hava hava. Whatever Nachshain did, right? You're not having Vaita Nachshain, unless you want to say, we saw earlier that maybe by Ezra, remember when they had Miluyim again by Yesheni, so maybe then, therefore, you'd be able to learn out for that. That would make a little sense, right? So it wasn't a one-shot deal; it was a second-shot deal. So we're learning out from the Torah that second-shot deal that the Nasi, when he brings the carbon, doesn't have to be in the north. Okay, so again, since it needs smicha, you might think it needs shchita b'tzafin. Kamash balam v'shacharei soy. Only the carbon of the Nasi requires. Only the carbon of the Nasi requires tzafin, but Nachshain, despite the fact, according to Rabbeinu Gershon, that it's the chatas of a Nasi, if the own Nachshain was the Nasi, it does not require tzafin, does not require north. Fred the Gemara usmicha gufa minalon. With a smicha, that how do you know that Nachshain's carbon needed smicha? How do you know that Nachshain's carbon needed smicha? The Tanya, it says v'samach yadai al roish hasayer. and he does smicha al yodai rosh hasoyer, and it says the word sar seems to be extraneous. If you look at Rashi, v'samach yodai al rosh hasoyer b'nasi kasiv. It's speaking about the carbon of the nasi. Umatzi lemichtav, and it would be able to write v'samach yodai al rosh right? And the samach yodai rosh. So the word soyer is extra. What's it extra? Rabbi said nachshain l'smicha. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. This is like Rabbi Yehuda. The word soy is to be marbe that nachshain's carbon needs smicha. Reb Shimon Oimer Amid Aleph. L'rabbois seirei avodas kechavim l'smicha. Oh no, it's not speaking about the seir of nachshain. It's speaking about the seir of Rosh of that's going to be a chatas penimius. If Bezdin blows it in a din of avodah zara, guys, right? If Bezdin blows it in a din of an avodah zara, a helam davar, it's going to be a seir. So that needs smicha. That needs smicha. So now it's very good, guys. Look at me. V'shachar I say, I would say since Nachshan's carbon needs smicha, I would think it needs north. Kamashman v'shachar I say it doesn't need north. Okay, how do you know it needs smicha? It says the word seya, an extra word seya in the pasuk b'samach yodei al rosh hasoyer. That's extra. Loit Rabbi Yehuda it's for smicha. Loit Rabbi smicha for nachshain. Loit Rabbi Shimon it's for smicha of what of the ser that's not still b'fnim for avodah zara if Bezdin blows it. Now you got a kasha. Loit him. You don't have a source for smicha for nachshain. In other words, why would you think north? Only because smicha is in the north. And therefore, you need a shachar say to tell me no. Like Rav Shimon, you don't have a source for smicha. If I don't have a source for smicha, I don't know that nachshon. I wouldn't have a havamida that nachshon has to be in the north. So I don't need the shachar say to take him out. Says the Gemara, Maskav l'Ravina, Teinach l'Reb Yehuda, Zeyagut, very good according to Reb Yehuda, who says that's the words with Samach Yadei Rosh HaSoyer is to teach me that nachshon requires smicha. I would understand the shachar say to tell me it doesn't require shlita bit suffering. However, Reb Shimon, who says that what it's speaking about the say of the nasi, ma'ikol and meimar, you should not need the shachar say whatsoever. After all, since there's no smicha by the nachshan's carbon, why would you think there's what there is shlita bit suffering? And so, according to Rav Shimon, what do we do with the shachar soy of the nasi? Again, the theme is that shachar soy is extra, and we don't know what to do with it. Like Rabbi Yehuda, I know what to do with it. It's to teach me that since nachshen's carbon is smicha, you would think it needs shchita, kamashman it doesn't. But like Rav Shimon, that nachshen's carbon does not need smicha. Why would I need the shachar soy to tell me that you need north? You don't need north. Why? Because you don't need smicha. You don't need north. It says the Gemara. You think you got a kasha? No, you think Rabbi Yehuda is good, guys? You think Rabbi Yehuda is good, and you need b'shachar esai? No, he's not so good. Amalei masutcha b'reider Rav Mori l'Ravina l'Rabbi Yehuda nami ma'idis Rabbi es Rabbi ma'idleis Rabbi leis Rabbi. Fellas, we read Gemara and we make an assumption. What's our assumption? If you need smicha, you must need north. Maybe whatever the pasuk put nachshain in, the pasuk put nachshain in. But without the pasuk putting nachshain in, it's not in there. Again, this is a hirasha. This is again. Remember, we said yesterday. There's no aveira over here. Why do you bring a chatas for? There's no aveira over here. There's no kapara over here. There's no kapara over here. So very geshmak. So good. Even like Rabbi Yehuda, that you'll tell me you need north, you need smicha. I will know you need north because there was no ribui to tell me north. So no, it says v'sacha yadai al rosh hasoyer. That is marbet v'samach that you need smicha al nachshen's carbon. Great. Why do you extend it now? Then maybe you think you need north that you need v'shachar to tell me not. It was never Israba. It was never included. So you're asking Rav Shimon, what does he do with the shachar say? I'll ask you better. What does Rabbi Yehuda do with the shachar say? There's no havamina. You should bring it in the north. Like Rav Shimon, there's no riba for smicha, and like Rav Yehuda, that if there's a riba for smicha, it's for smicha and smicha alone, not for anything else that you would need to go ahead and say v'shachar say that it's out. As I read the Gemara, one more time. Amar azucha breid Rav Mori Ravina, Rav Yehuda nami. My dis Rabbi is Rabbi. What was included is included. My delayis Rabbi, layis Rabbi. What's not included is not included. And therefore, why would I need v'shachar to tell me that you don't need suffering, that it's excluded from suffering? Why would I think it's included in suffering? The chitema, if you're going to tell me, Eloi mayed kra without v'shachar say, havamina teise bibinyanav. that you should learn out. A binyan av, just like a chatas, needs north. So to this chatas needs north, I'll disprove you. Then smicha gufa lishta kramine, the taste of binyan av. Guys, outside, eye contact. If you're going to learn out the most general term, a binyan av means just like you find from the av from this, you find from here also. What's the binyan av? A chatas needs north. Chatas needs north, right? I'll ask you a question in a second. A chatas needs north, yeah? Once you're calling Nachshin's carbon a chatas, it needs north. So therefore, I need v'shachar. I started to tell me, no, I'll prove to you that you don't learn that binyan av. Because if you did, why would you need a pasuk to include smicha? Why don't you go ahead and learn that from binyan av? Just like every chatas needs smicha, so too Nachshin's carbon needs smicha. Ella, the fact that you needed a pasuk to tell me you need smicha is a raya. You don't learn the binyan av. Again, what are you telling me? You're telling me you're making a comparison that to chatas of Nachshon to the general term of chatas. A chatas needs north, a chatas needs smicha, and chatas, okay? So you're telling me the following. I need v'shachar soy by nasi to tell me that this doesn't need north. Why would you think it needs north? It's because of the binyan av. You can't learn that binyan av. It's not true. What's the proof it's not true? Is because you had a pasuk to tell me that Nachshon needed smicha. Why would I need a pasuk to tell me Nachshon needed smicha? I have the binyan av. Ella, when you needed a pasuk for smicha, is the right you don't have the pasuk for shchita. If you don't have the pasuk for shchita, I don't need the shachar is said by the nasi to tell me it's not in the north. It's very geschmack. Okay. Now, as an aside, only of the I don't know how many blogs there are, but there's over 1,000. And only one of those charts was called the chart. What was the chart? If you remember, Hekesh, Gzeir Shava, Hekesh Binyan Av, by Kodshim, there's a limud, right? Dude, you can't learn Ein Loidim Hekesh Me right? And we had a whole chart to spell it out. It was very geschmack. Now, guys, Tosis asked this bomb kasha. Listen to this kasha. I love it. How do you know? You want to say right now, you learn out Nachshon from Binyan Av. Chatas is the north. This is also the north. Where do you know Chatas is the north? Because you make a hekesh to the makam of Oila. You know only north from a hekesh. So if you hold something that you learn from a hekesh, you can't learn a Binyan Av. What's the Gemara's kasha? Again, if something you learn from a hekesh, and we know Oila from Chatas from Oila, then it can't go ahead and learn the Binyan Av. Ain't chayes of learning. That Tosis kasha. Very good. Very nice kasha. Kasha. Okay, so right now where are we holding? Why would you think that you need Nachshon to be in the north? That you need a pasuk to tell me not. We don't. There's no way we know in the north. Ella shomi doiris layafinan. You don't learn out shomi doiris. Therefore, you don't learn out of binyan av. Hachanami shomi doiris layafinan. You don't learn out from smicha from nothing. So, guys, so we're back to first base. Guys, we're back to first base. You do not have any need for v'shachrei slay vis-a-vis what? Nachshon. There's no reason Nachshon should be in the north. Why? Because you don't learn out Shah. That was meaning Hayra Shah, that one significant time from the Dairais, which is all the time. Ella Oisai, Tayin Safwan, Ve'ena Sheikhid Ami B'Safwan. So forget Nachshon, he's out. Forget Nachshon's out. Now, the Shachar Oisai, you should sech the animal, the chatos of the nasi, in the north. However, ve'ena shoichet oime b'tzafin, and the shoichet doesn't have to be in the north. The shoichet doesn't have to be in the north. What's the reason? We'll see in it. Because shchit is not an avoida. Shchit is kasha bizarre. It all comes back. That's the beauty of kachim, guys. It's all gebunden. It's all bound together, right? The shchita, we said shchita is not lav avoidahi, right? Shchita is not an avoida, and it's kasha bizarre. So therefore, you don't need him in the north. You don't need him in the north. The shachar I say, so I'm going to learn out the animals in the north, but the shaychit's not in the north. Fred the Gemara, why do I need the pasuk by Nasi to tell me that? I have another source. Why do I need the pasuk by V'shachrei say by the Nasi to tell me that? I have another source. I learned it mid Achia. Now after the Tanya, Rabbi Achia Oimer, V'shachrei say by the oilets, it says V'shachrei say al yerech hamizbech tzfleina. Ma tamid loima, fi shematzina b'mekabel she'oimei b'tzafin u'mekabel b'tzafin. We said that if the person, the second act of the Vodas Adam, the Kabbalah, you're standing in the north, he has to be in the north, the animal has to be north, and he has to be in the north. V'momad b'darim, and if the Makabel of the Dam stands in the south, the Kibel b'tzafin, and it's Makabel b'tzafin pasal. In other words, even if the Kabbalah in his hands is done in the north, if his feet is standing in the south, it's no good. Yafal Avzakain, I might think Shkita is also like that. I say b'tzafin, v'lei shachim b'tzafin. Okay, guys? So we have, what do we want to say? We want to say the following. V'shachad oisai, that it says by the Nasi, it's not for the Seir of Nachshaim, because there's no way in the world I would know that it has to be in the north to exclude it. I'm using it, so I'm using it, V'shachad oisai, the animal has to be in the north, the animal has to be in the north, but the sheichet does not have to be in the north. He could use a long knife. He doesn't have to be in the north. Good. Frag the Gemara on that. I don't need the pasuk for that. I don't need v'shachar esay for that. I have another source. I have Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia tells me the Kabbalah has to be in the north, and the person has to be in the north, but the sheichet is not. So if I know it from Rabbi Chia, I don't need it from the Seir of the Nasi to teach it to me. I don't need to see it. Guys, this is also very geschmack. What's the difference between Shechita and Kabbalah? Kabbalah is an Avodah. Kabbalah is only with the Kayin. And therefore, you would need the north. In Svara, it would make a sense, the Pasuk, right? Make a lot of sense. By Shechita, not. That would be the difference between the two. The bottom line is, back to first base, why do you need the V'shachar to say by the Nasi for? It's extra. Ella, again, the Ella tells you, you're starting over again. Ella oislei b'tzafayin, right? Ve'ein ben oif b'tzafayin. Okay. So the animal has to be in the north, but the bird doesn't have to be in the north. The bird, now, we know that the oilas life and the chatas life are both kachei kedashim, but malika doesn't have to be in the north. Salkadait chamin, I would think, leisi b'kal v'chaymer, mi ben soin, I would learn out the bird from animals, uma ben soin, shalei kav kayem, because what, a shaychid, a zar could do it. Even an isha could do it. Kavalite Safin. Nonetheless, you have to be in the north. Ben Oif Shekavalite Kayin. Only the Kayin could do Malika. Only the Kayin could go ahead and do Malika in the neck. Ain't I din Shenikvalite Safin. It's not a Kalachayme that you need Safin. Okay? As therefore it's V'shachar Say. So the Gemara is asking, why do I need the pasuk? I would think, no. So I have a Kalachayme would need the north. The Shachar Say teaches me it doesn't. Only an animal and not the bird. Okay, so now I got a kasha. You know why he needs north? Because you need the kli. You need a knife. Mashain came by the kohen and you use his finger. Okay, so again, the attempted limit was, I need v'shachar say to teach me that only the animals in the north and not the birds in the north. For the Gemara on that because it's kal v'chaymer. Madach, an animal which is kosher bizarre, the shchita, needs the north. Malika, which is only kosher v'koyin, ein edin, it needs the north. Tamid loima v'shachar say by the Nasi to tell me he doesn't need the north. Now, guys, what's the din of a kal v'chaymer? Any pircha kolbuhu, any kasha you have in the kal v'chaymer destroys the kal v'chaymer. I got a kasha. What's the kasha? Ma l'shchita that needs a knife. Mashen came the koyin not. Ella. So therefore, we're back to first base. Why don't you v'shachar say for? Ella oisay b'tzafan vein pesach b'tzafan. V'shachar say the seir of the nasi needs tzafin, but the current pesach does not need tzafin. Fed the Gemara pesach that it does need tzafin. I have another source. Midrab Eliezer ben Yaakov nafka. Damir Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov. Oimer yachol yeheya pesach tain tzafin. I might think the current pesach has to be geshachted in the north. V'dinhu, it's a kavachomer. Uma oila. Shloi kavala zman, b'shkitasa. Oila, which you don't have a set time for its shkita. It could be at any time. Kavala tzafin, nonetheless, it's kaveya. The pace has to be the north. Pesach shekavala zman l'shkitasle. The Pesach that you will kaveya the zman for its shkita. Eino din shekavala tzafin. It certainly would need tzafin. So therefore, guys, I have what v'shachar I to teach me that the Pesach doesn't need tzafin. Dafka the chatas of the nasi needs tzafin, but not Pesach. For the Gemara, I know that from Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Mala oila shekein kolol, right? An oil is called kolol, so therefore it's more holy because it's a so mechatas. I'll learn from chatas. That's also the north. Mala chatas shekein mechaperes al chai bekrisus. Me'asham, I'll learn it from Asham. Mal Asham shkein kutche kedoshim. Says Gemara Mikulanami kutche kedoshim. So you got a problem. I know for sure that the Korban Pesach does not need the north. I don't need V'shachar Esoi to tell me that Dafka is Ser Nasi, not the Korban Pesach. From Eliezer ben Yaakov's Limud, there is no source that it should be the north. The commonality between the animals of the source of the north, the source of the north, is it's an oila, it's a chatas, it's an asham. What are they? They're all kachim kadashim. Korban Pesach, kachim kalim. So Memela, I don't even shachar say because there's no havamina that you need the north. So therefore, we're back to first base. What's first base? What's la'oil? What's it coming to teach me? So guys, you know where we're going? We're going back to shchita b'tzafin. We're going back to shchita and Kabbalah. Guys, what was the kasha? What was the teretz? The shachar I say, the animal has to be in the north, but the shaychit doesn't have to be in the north. Fred the Gemara that we learned from Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia said that what? That only tzafan but not shchita. And the answer is he wasn't mentioning shchita at all. He was coming to tell me the din of what? Of Kabbalah. Since he was coming to tell me the din of Kabbalah, he wasn't saying anything about shchita. If he wasn't saying anything about shchita, maybe shchita he also has to stand in the north. And therefore, the limit is no, v'shachar I say, dafka the animal and not the shaychit. So in other words, we're revisiting it, and we're teaching the kasha. The kasha, I don't need it, v'shachar I say for that. I have Rabbi Chia for that. We're saying no, that Rabbi Chia was not discussing that. Oh, Rabbi Chia wasn't discussing that. I don't have a kasha. V'shachar I say by the nasi is to teach me what? That you might think that what it has to be the animal and the shaychit. The shaychit doesn't have to be. The shachar soy, the animal of it has to be. The chatas has to be, and the limud it has to be. Masha'en kain what? Masha'en kain. The shaychit does not have to be there. Says the Gemara. This is the final teretz. El loyim kitamina meikara. It's like you said initially. Oise bitzafain. Oise bitzafain. Right. Dafka the say of the nasi has to be bitzafain. Right. And the ena shaychit, but the shaychit himself does not have to be bitzafain. With the kasha, he had a kasha mid Rebbe Achia Nafka. We learned that from Rebbe Chia, who said his din by Kabbalah. Says the Gemara, the Rebbe Chia lavlam with a shaychit b'tzafim l'dasa. He wasn't discussing the shaychit at all. He wasn't coming to go ahead one and be memayit the shaychit at all. Elahachi kamar eina shaychit b'tzafim avol mekabel b'tzafim. The shaychit's not b'tzafim, but the mekabel has to be b'tzafim. The shaychit is not b'tzafim, but the mekabel has to be b'tzafim. Now. Fred the Gemara, if that's what he's coming to teach me, I know from the other source. How do you know Mekabel has to be Mitzafin? Because this is what the pasuk says. B'shachar esachatas b'makam ha'oila, and then it says v'lokach hakayin midama be'etzba'oi. V'lokach hakayin midama be'etzba'oi. Guys, you see Shita Mekubetzes Vav? Do you see Shita Mekubetzes Vav? You see it? Have it? I just need a few words. Vilokach loy yikach. Loy, he should be taken. The koyin has to be taken to the north. So vilokach. Vilokach is a play on words. We had this earlier. So vilokach is a play on words. So Fred the Gemara, Rebbe Chia, you learn that from vilokach. You don't learn that from. Okay, says the Gemara, back by us now. Says the Gemara. Rabbi Chia is telling me a din in Rabbi Chia is coming to tell me a din in Safin, that only Safin, but he's not telling me a din in Shchita. The din in Shchita I know from B'Shachar Isai, with the Kakashalach with the Rabbi Chia Nafka. The Rabbi Chia lavlamu te shaychi b'tzafin hu da'asa el lahachi kamar eina shaychi b'tzafin aval makabel b'tzafin. The shaykhid is not there, but the makabel is there. Fred the Gemara makabel v'mivilokach nafka. He learns it out from that vilokach loy yikach. Says Gemara lokach v'lokach lemashmalei. He doesn't dash that lokach is a lokach. You can understand why. You can understand why he's not dashing vilokach loy yikach. So it comes out lemaskana v'shachar oisoi. Okay, so we go through the litany of the Gemara. We saw yesterday, V'shachar Eisai is extra. What's it extra for? We thought it was for Nachshain. It's not for Nachshain. We thought it's for the Kayin that the Sheikhid can be in the south and not. It doesn't have to be in the north. We thought that. We slugged it up, and we ended up saying no. That is the right pshat. But we know Tzafin has to be. Tzafin has to be, and Malika does not have to be. Malika he does not have to be. Okay, so Baruch Hashem, we did a nice Gemara. It's good. It's back and forth. Very good. Okay. The Mishnah said that in the various processes of the bringing of the mincha, you would be chayiv on each one. So you'd be chayiv on the kneading, you'd be chayiv on the aricha, the braiding, you'd be chayiv on the afiyah, on the baking. We said you'd even be chayiv on the kituf, taking water and smearing over it. Now, I think it's just this nakuda, guys. Let me tell you something now. I'll make the Gemara very easy. Aricha is forming. You take a piece of dough and you braid it. Right? It takes a different form. When you bake it, it's also forming. It's now rising. It's being baked. So in an afiyah is an aricha, because if aricha means changing the form, it is changing the form. Okay, with that in mind, let's begin. Says the Gemara, Amra Papa, says Rabbi, V'chayv al lishasav, al arichasav, al afyasav, on each one of these stages. Amra Papa, Afa loike shtayim. If you bake it, you're going to get 2 malchus. Achas al arichasa, one for its braiding, or that's just forming. The achas al afyasa. Guys, you see, in the afiyah, the act of afiyah, there's an aricha, because aricha just doesn't mean braiding; it means forming it, right? And when it gets baked, it gets formed as well. So you chayiv for the afiyah twice. Read the Gemara va'amrit ma afiyah miyuchedes shehi ma'isa yichidi v'chayav olo b'fnei atzma. Guys, we said why was it said? It said was leisiasa, and then it said leisiafa, right? We asked it yesterday. Why did we take that leisiafa out? We said to make it dava shayi bechlal. So any part of the asiya is just like afiyah is a separate process, so to all the others. So now you're telling me it's not yichidi. You're telling me in afiyah gufa you have an aricha. But yesterday you said no, it's a singular thing. And therefore, since that's singular, leash is singular, aricha is singular, kituf is singular, right? But that's not what you're saying now. You're telling me it's a double. You're telling me it's a double. Fred the Gemara kasha. Mafi mechedeshi masi chidi v'chaylam mfnei atzma. On that Gemara says like kasha. Hada arachu v'afahu. Hada arachavre v'yavle v'afa. Hada arachu v'afahu. Where he braids it, and then he goes ahead and he bakes it. So he's going to be chayiv twice. Once for his aricha and once for the afiyah. Meaning, even though in every afiyah is an aricha, since he himself had been oirich already, he's not going to be chayiv twice. Braiding, guys, look at my fingers. There's braiding, and then there's baking braiding. So if he did this already, I'm going to take off what? I'm going to take off the braiding. So you only be chayiv for yichidi for that one thing. Whereas his friend, if his friend did the aricha, and he did afiyah, then he did both, because you didn't chayiv for him previously on the aricha. You didn't chayiv him previously. So when it says yichidi, it's speaking where he A, did the aricha, and B, he baked it. So then I'm not going to be chayiv him on the aricha, because I was chayiv him already. When are you going to be chayiv one and one, right? And when are you going to say that what? That he's chayiv twice? That's where his friend did the aricha, and he did what? He did the afiyah. Then you be chayiv twice. Yeah, nothing.
2 separate people did it. Knows I did the braiding and I left it alone. Somebody else put it into the oven. He's not chayiv on aricha b'chlal.
You're chayiv for braiding. The one who put in the oven is chayiv for baking and braiding.
but he didn't do it. There was no action of braiding. He put it into the oven.
We're saying afia is the act of braiding because we're learning braiding is forming, improving it, right? And so anytime you Papa is mimachadish, when you bake something, automatically in the baking is aricha.
So lav
Again,
dafka has to be that you're making a
right, right.
braid.
I mean, why did you changed form? Let's understand that way. You had a dough, then you braided the dough, so you improved the form. Now you just had another improvement by baking it. It's improving it. That's the aricha. Guys. One more time. It's not. He said the Gemara called it a Maisa Yechidi yesterday. When's it a Maisa Yechidi? When he braided it, when he did the aricha, and then he baked it. So then he's going to be only chayiv for afia because he can't be mechayiv him twice. He'll be chayiv twice, but not for the action of afia. Where he didn't braid it, then this action of afia will be mechayiv him twice. When he didn't braid it, his action will be mechayiv him twice. The Gemara now goes off into the tangential sunset. Okay, it just boom. Okay, we know it's us to put a mum in kachim. It's us to put a mum in kachim, right? If an animal is kodesh, it's us to have a mum. There's one animal which it behooves the kohen to put a mum in it. That's called the bechar. That's called the bechar. Bechar is unique. A bechar, it goes to the kohen. If there's no mum, he has to bring it to the Beis HaMikdash and go ahead and bring it like a Pesach. One spritzing, imurim. If he gets a mum, it becomes his backyard barbecue, guys. If he gets a mum, it becomes his backyard barbecue. So therefore, here you have a problem. Let's say an animal, it blood came to the surface. It used to be that hakazas adam, bloodletting, was a very, very common way of probably relieving blood pressure for sure. And it was a common thing for cure. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, that sign by the barber going around and around, the barbers used to be bloodletters, and that's that rotational thing was the bloodletting thing. I think so. Kenny nods his head yes. We'll see it in the blog, and then it'll be official. But it's until then, until then. Okay, so if you have an animal that needs a kosas adam, it's a bechor, it's a balmum. Yeah? Can I put a mum in it? Can I put a mum in when it's a balchor? Guys, we have a four-way machlokes. To facilitate understanding, I bring you Rabbi Kornfeld. Okay? According to Reb Meir, I'm sorry, I got erased because I put tape on it. According to Reb Meir, in a place you can't do hakaza in a place that'll be a mum kavua that you'll be able to shecht it on. You could put it in a place where it won't be a mum kavua. In other words, there are different mumim. So a mum that's kavua, you're gonna be able to shecht it. A mum that's not kavua, so therefore it says Meir practically. You could do hakaza provided you're not making it now the Kohen's backyard barbecue. You could do hakaza provided you're not making it the Kohen's backyard barbecue. The Chacham say, right? You could make a mum kavua, however, you cannot make it to the backyard barbecue. According to Rabbi, you can't do the hakaza at all. According to Chachamim, you could do the bloodletting. You could do the bloodletting, but you wouldn't be able to shecht on it. Meaning, in order to shecht, it would have to get another mum afterwards. You need a mum afterwards. To save the life of the animal, I could put a mum in it, a mum kavua. And normally I would be able to go ahead and that would be able to bring my backyard barbecue. But since I did it, you can't. Reb Shimon is the most makel. Says Reb Shimon, go ahead, do hakaza, and you could shech, and there you go. So the strictest is Reb Yehuda. You let the animal die. Ema kizin, I feel if it's going to die. Because he holds like Reb Meir, and he holds more than Reb Meir. Because if we let you do it in a place where it's not a mum, you'll come to do it in a place that is a mum. So guys, 4 shitas. Let's see them again. Like Reb Meir. The two extremes are Reb Shimon and Reb Yehuda. Reb Shimon says, go for it. So Reb Yehuda says, nothing. You can't do anything. Machlokes Reb Meir and the Chachamim, where can you make the mum? Reb Meir says, anywhere, any place that it wouldn't be kavua. And the Chacham says, I feel kavua, but you won't be able to go ahead and shecht on it. So with this, we can bring the. Why do I have this? I don't know. I don't know. Guys, we're good. We're set up. Says the Gemara. Tanarabana. The chor she'achsu dam. A bechor that was oiches dam and it requires hakaza. Makis and dam. You can go ahead and bloodlet. B'makom shein oisa b'mum. In a place where it wouldn't make a mum kavua that you would be able to shecht upon it. But you can't go ahead and put it in a place where it is a mum kavua, divrei meya. So he allows you to do it. But in other words, there's a but to Reb Meya. You could do akaza, but not in a place that would make it a mum kavua. The chacham ma'imim yakiz af b'makam shoyse b'mum. However, ubilvad don't act upon that. Shlo yishchait al oisei mum. So the chacham say, go ahead, make a mum, even if it's a mum that would render it what a backyard barbecue. But however, to really make it a backyard barbecue, you're gonna have to wait for a future date when it gets an other mum. Reb Shimon says Amid Beis, says Reb Shimon, Af nishchat al oisei mum. You can even go ahead and shecht on that mum. The mamish the most cool the kashita. Rabbi Yehuda says, Afilu meis eimakis and loy. The most chumit the kashita. You can't do anything. See the top Rashi on Rabbi Yehuda shita. Afilu yamus, right? Another yamus is you will kill it. Guys, it doesn't say mace, it's going to die. But Rashi's gersa afilu yamus. You're killing it. In loyak, it's going to die. In loyak yizenu eimakis and loy. Perikamid the Pesachim, and Farish time of Rabbi Yehuda, Mitoch Adam Boyal al Memoinai. Person's always worried about his money. If you're going to go ahead and permit him, to put it be makas in a place where you're not going to shecht on it. You'll go ahead and put in a mum that you would be able to shecht on it. So in other words, Rabbi Yehuda really holds like Rameya, guys. Rabbi Yehuda really holds like Reb Meya, that what? You can't go ahead and do hakaza in a place that will be a permanent mum. He holds that way. He won't even let you do this because he's worried if he lets you do this, you may come to do this. That's what he's worried about. If he's worried that if you let you do a mum in a place where it's not going to be a mum, but you may come to go ahead and do a place that's a mum. Okay, what this has to do with Asugya, we'll see in a second. Rabbi Yochanan, Hakol Moedim, everyone's Moeda, even though they argue by mum, these four-way machlokes by mum, they would all agree in the following scenarios. They'd all agree in the following scenarios. Hakol Moedim b'm mechametz acha mechametz. You're going ahead, and you mechametz acha mechametz. Lisha, Aricha, Afia. So all these actions, machametz acha machametz, you'll be chayiv. It says lo se'aseh, it says lo se'afer. Guys, why is lo se'afer taken out of the rule? To tell me any action similar to baking, which baking chametz, you'll be chayiv on the lisha of chametz, you'll be chayiv on the aricha of chametz, you'll be chayiv on the kitav of chametz. Guys, geschmack. That's why this is here. For that one line. Anything else, the rest is nothing to do with the Menachos. Okay, so everyone, meaning there's four machlokes in the Meir, the Chachamim, Reb Shimon, Reb Yehuda, that we have machlokes by what? By mum. Hakol moedim, all of them would agree. We just learned the Stam Mishnah. The guys, the Mishnah that said this was the Stam Mishnah that you chayiv on all three things. They all agree. Dichsiv leisiasa chametz, leisafa chametz, b'misares, to go ahead and it's us to castrate an animal, even if the animal is schulin. The schulin is asa. The shaila comes up, bisman hazeh, if you own a dog and you want to spade the dog. If you own a dog and you want to spade the dog, what they do is they sell it to the vet. They sell it and they buy it back. This is, again, you think it's like not shaykh. My poor granddog DJ, unfortunately, had it done to him. Yochevet's dog, DJ, yeah. Okay, anyway, so Mesares, Acha Mesares, Shuchayev, an act of sirus, of sterilization. After an act of sterilization, you'll be Chayev. Diksiv, it says, Umoch v'katuch, v'nosuk v'korus. These are all different types of mumim. right? Now, chorus, guys, is where you cut, but the baits and the testicles are still intact. Nosuk is you're taking it out of the sack. So if you chayiv for chorus, certainly chayiv for nosuk. That's a later date. So the Gemara says, "Emal chorus chayiv." If you chayiv for cutting it and leaving it in the sack, I'll not like kol shekain. Ella, why are you saying that? So that it says not to give the chorus. Ella lehevi noitikacha chorus shu chayiv. That you be chayiv. Another example, like nechku. Where's the machlokes? Ella b'matam mum by being matal mum, as we saw. Reb Meir Savar kol mum lo boy. The pasuk says, right? The pasuk says, kol mum b'ish ki Yaakov zevach shlomim lashem lafalei nedo lenava babaka batzoin tam yeh l'ratzlein. The pasuk says tam yeh l'ratzlein. It should be tamim. Kol mum lo ba. Now, why does it say kol mum lo ba? Rashi kol mum kol ribui. Kol is a ribui. Umashma even if it already is a balmum, you shouldn't put another mum. Even if it's a balmum, you shouldn't put another mum. That's Rabbi Meir Shita. Guys, you have an animal that is blood is going to the surface. Ain mum gedayla mizu, and therefore he says you would not be able to put another mum. You won't be able to put another mum. Rabbanan Savri, the first part of the pasuk, Tamim Yeh L'Ratzayin. Rashi, Tamim Yeh L'Ratzayin, Ksiv Bereisha, the Quran in the beginning of the pasuk, Umash Mahachi, Oisei Shehu Tamim V'Roi Yeh L'Ratzayin. Those animals that are Tamim, they are pure, and they possible could be L'Ratzayin for a carbon. Behahu Mizhar Nalacha. There the Torah warns us, Kol Mum Lo Yeh Ba. Aval B'Bal Mum Shari, but B'Bal Mum it's permitted. So again, it's the pasuk, guys. It's Chaf Beis, Vayikra Chaf Beis, Chaf Aleph. So the Chacham darshan the way Tamim Yeh L'Ratzayin, Kol Mum Lo Yeh Ba. Right. If the animal is tamim, then you can't put a mum in it. If the animal is tamim, then you can't put a mum in it. Rabbi Meir is saying no. Kol Mum Boy. Even if the animal has a mum, Kol tells me you can't put another mum in it. So really, it's a machlokes and how to darshan the pasuk. And now the Gemara goes fears like how they darshan. Rameya nami haksiv tam yelevat. So what does Rameya do with the Chacham's pasuk? That is only a mum if it's a problem, if it's royal as a carbon. Hahulamute balmum meikara. In other words, if it's a balmum meikara, right? Then you could put a mum in it. If it's a balmum, even guys, before it was kodesh, it was a mum. Before it was kodesh, it was a mum. You could put a mum. Call mum. You could tamim yeh. If it's not tamim, then you could put a mum in it. Says Gemara, balmum meikara dikla baalmahu. If it was a balmum, it was born as a balmum. It's a shtik holz. It's a piece of. It's nothing. I don't need a pasuk to tell me you can go ahead and put a mum in a shtik holz. If it's about balmum meikara, I don't need a pasuk for that. So therefore, that's not what Tam Yelevatza can be teaching me. Ella, it must be something else. El mute psula mikdashim. It's the my psula mikdashim. So guys, psula mikdashim is an animal that was a carbon. It got a mum, and you will pay it. It still has certain kedusha. It's also begiza. If it's a sheep, wool, can't use it. Also ba'avoida, you can't work it. Milk, you can't use it. So you might think that you can't put a mum. Kemash malon, since it's not tam yil ratzlain, you can put a mum in it. That's what Rabbi is going to learn from it. Even though it has certain stringencies, chumis, in the state of psuli mikdashim, since once upon a time it had been a carbon. On that we say that I see. So since psuli mikdashim la'achet piyoinam, after you paid it, salkadai chamin, I would have thought hoyel vasir begizav avoida. It's also to use its share, and it's also to use what? It's to work it. B'mumim nami. Let's read to put a mum in it. Kamash malon, it's not asa. Okay, that's what he does with Tam Yil Ratzon. Rabbanan Nami Yaksiv Kol Mum Lo Yeh Boy. What does Reb Meir do with the Umrah of Rebbe of Reb Meir of the Kol Mum Boy? Mashma that Kol, even if it has a mum, you can't put a mum in it. Ahumi Boy Lelichetanya. The Kol Mum Lo Yeh Boy. Ainly Elish Lo Yeh Boy Mum. If it doesn't have a mum, Minayin Shla Yigrum Lo Yal Yedei Acherim. In other words, I might think you can't put a mum in it. You can't put a mum in it. What about grama? What about causing? Now we guys, we had the sugi of grama in Baba Kama. Right? With Sugya Baba Kama. You tie up a person and the fire comes, right? So putting fire on the person is direct. Tying him up and it comes as grama. So I might not be able to go ahead and put a mum in the animal, but maybe the following. I got this Bukhar. I got this Bukhar. I don't want to go up there, Beis Hamikdash. I'm a Kayin. I don't want to go up there. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a piece of nice, fresh, hot dough, put it on the ear next to Fido. Fido is going to smell the dough. What's Fido going to do? It's going to take a bite out of the ear. Did I put the mum in it? No, I caused it. Comes the pasuk, kol mum boy, even al yidei grama, it's asa to do. That's what the chacham are going to use it for. So, minayin shlo yugrim lo al yidei acherim. How do you know you should not cause by others? In this case, a dog. Shleniach batzek oidevela. You shouldn't leave either some dough or devela, some date. Al gabe oizin kidei sheyave akela v'yitlena tamalayma kol mum. Right? Amar mum, v'amar kol mum. It says mum, regular mum. This says kol mum. I feel it to go ahead and cause a mum. So therefore, we brought this sugya in because of the afia that machmitz after machmitz, and we're seeing that misaris after misaris, and we're seeing by mum we have a machloikis, four-way machloikis, right? A four-way machloikis of which we're explaining two shitas so far. We're explaining the shitas of Rabbi and the shita of the Chachamim, right? The shita of Meya, it says kol mum, any mum you can't put in. According to Chachamim, Chachamim says that when's a din of kol mum is only when it was roy tam yeleratzain, only when it's tamim. Once it wasn't tamim, you can't bring it as a carbon, then there's no issa. What does each one do with each other's rayas? Right? So like Reb Meya, it's that since it's not tamim liyaratzin, it's psulim mikdashim, you could put a mum in it. Like the chachamim, kol mum comes to right, not only putting in the mum, but even to cause the mum, it would not be permitted.